Live here on Showiteer.com. I'm Phil Denny. This is my amazing co-host, Elizabeth Langford.
Good morning, everybody. We're so excited. It's Tuesday and it's another Show It Live day.
Yes, super excited for today's guest. Not only is she a great photographer, an awesome mom, but she's one of the sweetest people on the planet Earth.
That's true.
It really
that is certifiable.
Yeah,
true.
Cassie Jones is joining us today, and she'll be joining us in just a couple minutes.
Yeah, from Arkansas.
Yes, from Arkansas. So before we get to that, there was a couple things we wanted to mention.
Yeah.
So new to the Show It universe is blog hosting. Right, we've always had amazing drag and drop custom designs and custom mobile, which we'll also get to in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But we are now hosting WordPress blogs.
That's right. Managed WordPress, which
Yeah.
is really, really amazing. And we're excited for all of you who have come on board and brought your blogs over to Show It. But this is something that you can add.
Yeah.
It's an added feature.
Yeah, so if you're already a Show It user, it's really simple. You go to showitaccount.com.
Mm-hmm.
And you log in, and then in the upper left-hand corner, there's a little section where you can say, so migrate your blog over or start a new blog. Oh, that's a really good point. Speaking of left-hand corners, over here on the left side of Liz, there's an awesome chat window where you can log in, tell us where you're chatting from. You'll also be able to ask questions of Cassie during the show, or you could ask questions of Liz. Don't ask questions of me. I know very little.
That's not true.
Well, if it's like a Dumb and Dumber,
but I do have the computer to write back.
Yeah. So, back to the blog.
Yeah.
So if you're already a Show user and you do it, there's no additional cost for a Show to start hosting your blog. And our team handles all the heavy lifting, which is huge when you're thinking about doing your blog and it's like, oh, do I want to migrate it over? That's such a pain.
You don't have to do anything techy.
No, we have some really buff Show It studs who migrate all the heavy lifting is done by us.
Totally.
So they do a great job with that.
They do. It's really, really exciting. Mm-hmm. We're excited to see people moving their blogs over, and we think blogging is such an important way to reach out and get your voice out to your potential customers and to your fan base. Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, super great.
Yeah. Speaking of something super great.
Something super great.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is necessarily great. It is. It's actually great news.
Cool.
Next week.
Yes.
Next week. We're going to have a show about this next week.
Yeah.
But next week, April 21st, Google has decided that it is the mobile apocalypse. Mm-hmm. For SEO purposes, next week, mobile becomes super important. Yeah, set on a pedestal, if you will.
Exactly.
Basically, Google said if you don't have a site that is mobile friendly, you are going to take a huge hit on your SEO.
Right.
You will be deemed less relevant, which is what Google really cares about.
Right.
And then all the other search engines, they follow Google's suit, and they just say, oh yes, that's also important. So it becomes more important than ever to have a mobile site look exactly the way that you want it to, large buttons, easy to use, all of that. Right. And we're going over that next week, which is the mobile apocalypse day.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. On the actual day, we're going to be talking about that here on Show It Live. Mm-hmm. And we knew that it was coming, maybe not that date from Google, but that mobile is so important because so many people are on their devices all the time. Cassie was just saying to us before we started the show how big our phones are. Mm-hmm. And it's true. I check things on my phone all the time before I ever check them on the actual desktop, and sometimes never even get to that and buy things on my phone. And it's just really important that you have a great mobile site. And so we'll talk next week about how the information that you have on your mobile site isn't necessarily all of the information that you would have on your desktop site, because people are taking in that information differently. They're on the subway, they're moving fast, they're watching their kids at the playground. And so you need to be thoughtful about how much information you're giving people.
And the reason that's, if you're just tuning in to watch Cassie because you love Cassie and I totally understand. The reason that's important for us to talk about is because here at Show It, we have this awesome little software that allows you to create custom websites. And it also allows you to do what no other company allows you to do, which is a custom mobile site. Specifically, you can tailor your mobile site to look exactly how you want it to and make it very mobile friendly and very Google friendly.
Yes.
So that's why we're talking about that. And on that same note, we wanted to feature a site that Show It user did all by themselves.
Yeah.
They custom designed their own mobile site, and I'm probably going to butcher the name. So do you want to butcher the name?
Sure. I'm going to say that the first name is Tori and that her last name is Nefores. possibly.
Yeah.
And Tori is a beautiful photographer. She is from Maryland, Maryland. And she has a really, really cool custom mobile site that she did. We looked also at her desktop site, but her mobile site was specifically created for mobile, which is so cool. And she used our Show It custom mobile feature that she or that you all who have Show It can use. And so we're just going to kind of go through Tori's site here a little bit. It's up on Field's phone.
It's actually up on my phone.
It's really cool. And we're using a little app on Mac called Reflector, I believe, to show this to you. But I love that Tori has all of her navigation across the top, but then she's got really big buttons and really big pictures inside of her site. And so it's really easy to navigate around to get a feel for her imagery. Her logo appears on every page. She just did a really, really good job of taking her desktop site and converting it into a mobile site or redesigning it specifically for mobile. So we just thought this was really beautiful, Tori. We are so proud of you for your design and for beating the apocalypse.
That's
because, your site is going to rank very well, I would think.
If nothing else, you're at least
pass with flying colors.
If nothing else, you're at least a week ahead.
Exactly. And it's good to be a week ahead, right?
Very much so.
Better than being a year behind.
Oh, so much better.
Totally.
So much better. Well, speaking of great sites and Showiteers, we have the quintessential Showiteer on today. I think we should welcome her on.
Absolutely. Can we show her site when we?
Absolutely. Yeah, let's pull.
I've got that up on my computer. JT will bring that up for you so you can see it.
Yeah.
This is Cassie Jones Fine Art Weddings website, and Cassie is a photographer from Arkansas, like we said before, and she specializes in weddings, but she's also a mom, and she has a fairly brand new baby at home, so she's doing a lot of juggling in her world between business and motherhood, parenthood.
Well, so welcome, Cassie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you today?
We're great. How are y'all doing?
So good. And how are the babies?
Babies are great.
Yeah, baby's doing well.
Baby's doing well.
Good.
How old is your newest little baby now?
She is 3 months.
3 months. Okay, so you're starting to get a little more sleep, but still not a ton.
She is actually sleeping through the night. We are spoiled.
Yeah. So you have
awesome.
The 3-month-old girl, and then Will is how old now?
He is 2 years.
2 years old. It's a fun age.
It's a great age.
Yeah.
I love this age.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Cassie, for taking a little time out of your life to be part of Show It Live this morning. And I think the first thing that we were going to talk about is actually setting priorities and like what things need to come to the top of the list and what things can maybe be saved for later.
Yes. My priorities, my children come first. Especially because they're young, they require a whole ton of, every single personal need. I need to be there with them meeting that. So everything from, taking one potty, changing one's diapers, and playing Legos, everything has to go together. And so they are my number one priority, and I manage my work around them, not the other way around. So I have the kids. That's my first.
Yeah.
And then after that, I work on things that people are waiting on, editing, blog posts, etc. And then my third priority is the house and household chores. I set priorities for each day before I go to bed each night. I know exactly what has to be done the next day, and I do my absolute best to get everything done. But one of the most important things too to remember is flexibility and being able to juggle everything and still have focus on getting everything done. I have learned a lot about using time wisely and making sure all of my time is hard after something. So
yeah, well, and that becomes important, especially I mean, I've been there where you have one kid who's potty training or is using the restroom, and then the other one's in diapers and like been trying to live life and then also have a job. And I mean, I'm a dad, So like I didn't do as much of it as Carrie, obviously. I mean, I'd probably say, I did quite a bit. I'd say maybe 5%. Pretty significant. But yeah, it's such a hard thing to remember, like while you're taking care of the kids, oh, I also have a business.
Right.
And when you're taking care of your business, oh, I'm also a mom. Like, or, you have kids. I'm not a mom, but you have kids. Like it's such an so each night you said you set these priorities, or you set like a goal for the following day?
Yes. At night before I go to bed, I kind of look over my schedule. Rusty and I even talk about it. Like we have very, very open communication with each other about what's going to go on at the house that day. If I've just shot an engagement session, like Saturday night, I shot an engagement session. He knows that come Monday, I'm going to be working on that session. I try to spend, an hour editing each day, and then about an hour doing other business stuff. So we, as a family, we rotate everything kind of on a communication base.
Sure. And then when you're setting that hour, do you set like a timer on your phone, or do you use like the old egg timers? Or
I don't even set a timer. I just usually know when it's been about an hour. Nice. I typically edit, like if Will is in his room playing with his Legos or something like that, and Haley's down, just happily on the floor. Sometimes even if I just have 5 minutes and I know that I've got a session that I need to work on, I'll set the laptop up on the bar and I'll just head over and edit a few photos and then go back to doing whatever we're doing. But I usually try to sit down and have an hour each day to work on editing, and usually that's during nap time.
Nice.
Yeah. Yes.
Nap time is very useful.
It is. I can get so much done in an hour, like I never even dreamed. But
see, I always liked nap time as nap time.
Yeah, that doesn't work. But moms are told you should sleep when the baby sleeps.
Yeah. I
don't think I ever did that, because that is really your like focused time, and you just don't know how long it's going to last. Sometimes, right. They can be very, very consistent and nap for 2 or 3 hours at a time for weeks. And then all of a sudden one day it's like 15 minutes, so you gotta like get down to work. Cassie, did you have your business before you had your kids?
Yes, but I did not have it full time.
Okay.
I had a full-time job whenever I had Will. And I also had a lot of photography work. And at that point, I was so overwhelmed with everything that I didn't do anything well. My editing list was a mile long. I had people, calling, being like, hey, when are those going to be ready? And I had a house that was a complete disaster all the time. And I really had no groove. One of the best things that I did was, I lost one job, like didn't lose it. I'm saying I left it.
Yeah. You just couldn't find it one day. You started to drive and then all of a sudden it wasn't there. It's like, where was this job?
Yeah. I don't know where.
So you left one job.
I left one job, and I focused a lot of time, or I was able to focus much more time on photography. And I also decided that what I really, really wanted to do was weddings. And I took on portrait work to make ends meet up until this past year. Just as of 2015, I am strictly a wedding photographer. And it's been really good moves for us as a family. We have a lot more quality time together, especially, figuring out how to set priorities and stuff like that, and manage my time a lot better has really helped our family time be family time. And I'm not overwhelmed with 100 shoots each week. I even have a limit on how many weddings I'll accept in a year. So
that's awesome. So that's one of the things that I always hear people talking about, like, oh, wedding photography, like, you have to work weekends and then you miss your family on weekends. And I always look at it as, well, not every weekend. Like if you have a limit, right. But portrait photography, like you're often missing nights with your family, like during the weekday and evenings and different times. So I think that it's kind of given it's whatever you prefer to shoot, really. Either way, you have a job,
Mhm.
right? And,
Yeah.
and you have to.
And it doesn't have normal hours. It's
No.
not banker's
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah,
Right.
So,
For us,
oh, go ahead.
for us here in the South, if I have, 15 weddings, for me, I include engagement shoots in every wedding. I will not shoot a wedding without an engagement shoot. But also we have bridal portraits, which probably 75% of my clients book.
Okay.
And so right there, I've got, at least 40 times that I'm going to be gone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's 40 work days out of the year, which sounds super cush when you put it that way.
Right.
Of course, my wedding days are like, sometimes 15 hours, but that, 15 every once in a while, somebody number 16 comes along. I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll do that too.
Oh, right. You're cute and you have a great story and you obviously love. Okay, yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, we'll do 16.
So in managing all of these weddings, you must have developed some systems, Cassie, to help you like keep those priorities in order and make sure that you are getting things to your clients on time and managing their expectations. So what are some of those systems that you've developed?
I have systems for just about everything. I think that systems are super important to running a business. I feel like if you're running a business, you should be able to type out the steps that you take to do everything. So that if you handed your book to someone, they could easily understand how you run your business. It needs to be that structured. I have a system for editing. I have a system for blogging and for social media posts. I even have a system for keeping my house clean. On the house, like every day, I try to do a load of laundry.
Mm-hmm.
I do the dishes and I do a whole house pickup. And then I add in one extra chore a day so that it's not overwhelming one day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit each day. And that way, if I have a really bad day, like yesterday, Haley was super fussy, couldn't seem to get anything really done. But at the end of the day, my house still looked okay. I've got clean laundry on the bed, and I've got a few dishes in my sink. But in the end, it's not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
That way, I can kind of keep everything at least picked up and headed in the right direction. And I'm not super behind, even if I leave off a day.
So let's talk about this, because there's lots of different strategies. I've been reading, not a lot, but like I try and help out, around the house, try and be somewhat of a decent husband. And have you read about like 15 minutes a day cleaning? Have you read that? The Queen.
No, I hate to clean.
Queen to Clean, I think came up with like a 15-minute a day plan.
Yeah, I don't know that I could ever do mine in just 15 minutes.
Right. Well, and that's her point. Like everybody's like, oh, it takes way more than 15 minutes. So
Yeah.
what is your system for like what's the extra chore you add each day?
Well, like one day it'll be dusting.
Okay.
Or if I miss a day, it may be dusting and the floors.
Okay.
Or if I even miss 2 days, it may be dusting floors and the bathrooms.
Yeah.
But, just I try to do something each day so that at the end of the day or at the end of the week, I'm not behind on everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just behind on a few things.
Yeah.
Our world is not perfect, obviously. It's just never going to be.
Yeah.
And so we just do our absolute best to keep it as good as possible.
Yeah. Now I bet you can't wait till Will's like, I don't know, 5 and he can start vacuuming, like legitimate vacuuming.
Yeah. Actual.
Yeah.
He does help me unload the dishwasher.
Oh, attaboy.
Which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
That's very good. For 2?
Yes.
I'm impressed.
He's such a helper.
That's awesome. Put all the plastic stuff down low.
Keep encouraging that, because then he'll want to help.
Knives out first, and then I'm like, have at it.
Yeah.
And his wife someday will really thank you for starting him young on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. We love men that love to clean.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good thing. So one of the other things that you had told us about when we sort of did a little pre-call before the show was about setting sort of, I think, limits to schedules, right? And we talked a little bit about you only shoot 15 weddings a year and maybe you let that 16th one creep in. But how does having sort of some boundaries to things help you to balance both your business and parenthood, Cassie?
Well, I look at it this way. If I took on 30, like I kind of look at how much time I'm going to be away from my family. And, you know, I only get one chance to raise my children. And so that time is now. I can do 30 weddings whenever they're gone if I want to. But, you know, for right now, I look at the number of shoots that each wedding, you know, has a possibility of 2 or 3 extra shoots. And so each one that I take on, I need to be willing and weigh the cost of not just time, but what it costs my family as well. You know, there's babysitting, and, you know, we're so blessed to have our family help out with that a lot. But we also don't want to overwhelm them either. And so we definitely set limits to what we do. And that goes into my schedule each week. I'm not going to set up 5 shoots in 1 week. That would be horrible. I would never get anything done. And so, you know, I set a limit to how many shoots I'll do in a week, which is right now 1 or 2 max. If somebody calls and, you know, they're trying to fit something in during that month, and if I don't have the time, I'm sorry, I can't do it then. You can do it here. But those limits they're hard set. So
I think that really makes sense, though. And sometimes as business owners, I think we are, it's hard for us to say no. We're reluctant to say no. But, you know, Chick-fil-A is only open 6 days a week. They do not open on Sundays. And
although every Sunday
I want Chick-fil-A after church. But they've set boundaries. They've set parameters. You know, and other banks set business hours. Other companies set normal business hours. And I think when we want our businesses to function as businesses, we need to treat them that way. And having boundaries is a really good thing. And that goes into managing your clients' expectations, because, you know, if you shoot 5 in a week, now there's 5 people who want their images fast, because everybody wants them right away, right? Nobody wants to wait. They want instantaneous gratification.
Right. Whenever, you know, somebody, and I still feel this way, anytime I get an inquiry, I get so excited. Like, this is what I love to do. And so every time somebody, you know, sends me an email, hey, I'm having this baby, and, you know, I'd love for you to take pictures of them, I get so excited. That's such an honor. But I also I have to remember, like, that my family comes first. And right now, that's not something that I'm willing to sacrifice. And so I've, you know, had the hard job of turning down a lot of shoots, especially this year, just going from doing everything to just weddings. You know, well, I just saw theirs that you did, you know, a couple of months ago, and I have to, you know, explain. Most everybody's really understanding about it, but, you know, that we have a family, and that's number one.
Absolutely. So, one of the things I know that becomes really hard, and you just kind of touched on this a little bit, is that editing portion, right? And I think a lot of times when photographers are pricing themselves, or when you're talking to potential clients, they're not thinking about, you're spending time with them, and then you're going home and you're spending maybe equal time editing those images. And so really it's double time, and they're sort of paying you where they should be paying you for both. How have you kind of been able to get that editing process down where it's streamlined and it's got a good workflow, and you know that you're being efficient and effective when you're editing?
This is probably my favorite part. I could talk about this for hours. Because I used to have the absolute worst editing workflow in the history of ever.
That sounds like a book title, right?
Yeah, it is. You should write a book about this. Worst
inefficient editing.
Worst editing workflow in the history of ever. That's a book I would read.
Yes. If you want to know how to do it wrong, trust me, I've done it. At one point, I was editing every image in Photoshop. Oh, yes. And Elizabeth, I love your face.
Ouch! That hurts.
Yeah. Well, I had these actions that I ran that were just, you know, absolutely stunning. And I had no idea, you know, at that point that Lightroom was just becoming a big thing, and people were starting to create presets. But it was really before all that got big, and I would spend hours and hours editing. And I'm one of those people that I love pictures, obviously. And so whenever, for my clients, I love to give them a lot. Like, I'm not going to cut them out just because of a number that I have set. I like to give them everything that is really good from their session. Now, I'm not going to give them 5 of the same shot, but if it's hangable, I'm going to give it to them. And so for me, it was a lot of images and a lot of time editing and going about it in a way that I didn't need to or didn't have to, and I just really didn't know. One thing that changed, a huge game changer, was Lightroom. All the color corrections and everything that you can do to 100 photos at the same time is that's such a game changer. Whenever I had custom presets made by Chad de Blasio, that was one of the best investments I've ever made. I have a color preset and a black and white preset, and I don't touch anything else in the preset world. He made those for me. He took my raw images and my edited images and studied them and figured out how to do a preset that matched that. And I mean, that was just huge for me.
Yeah, Chad's a wizard.
Yeah, so good.
He does magical things.
Yeah, and he taught me so much about how to use them and how to tweak them. And I've even started shooting for those presets.
Yeah.
Like all of my work, it's really contrasty. It's bold colors. They kind of have a little bit of a matte finish. And everything that I deliver is in color and black and white. For my clients, I know there's a lot of photographers that believe, several different things about providing color in black and white. But for mine, there's a lot of moms and grandmothers and aunts ordering the same images, and, someone really likes color, someone else really loves black and white. And that way the bride doesn't have to say, hey, can you do this in color for my grandmother, but in black and white for me? Everybody can choose their own. And that has seemed to work really well, but I can just go through and do those black and whites in 2 seconds of every image, and then export them, and I'm done. For my sessions, I'm done in about an hour, but that's just strictly editing. I work a lot, with the blog post, and that takes a lot of time for me because I do enormous sneak peeks.
Sneak peek.
Probably.
For like 40, 50 images enormous?
Probably 45 or so. For weddings, I probably include about 100.
Yeah.
Because I'm just excited about them as they are.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I really love to give clients lots of images that they can see and get excited about before their gallery is delivered. And so, but
that's just your heart, Cassie.
Well,
I'm just so excited to share all of the 45. Like our sneak peeks are like 1, and 45. I want to share everything. I love it.
I do. I want everybody to see everything.
That's great. How do you determine then if you're posting 40 to 45 images? Are you blogging every single wedding and every single session? Does it go up on the blog?
Yes.
Okay.
Every wedding, every session goes up on the blog. Whenever I get home from a session, a lot of times I'll pop the computer up on the bar, which is like in the central area of our house. Everything happens in the living area. We have a big open kitchen, dining room, living room. I pop open the computer, plug in my cards, let them download, go bathe the kids. From there, I'll take 10 minutes, go through and cull them really quick. I'm really fast at culling. I feel like that's one of those things that practice makes perfect.
For sure.
You can pretty quick now know what needs to be kept and what doesn't. I can filter through those things like nobody's business.
No. Now with culling, you're probably gonna ask the same
question. You
question.
go ahead.
No, you go.
Do you use Photo Mechanic?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I actually use Lightroom. I've just gotten really quick at it. I know I've heard Photo Mechanic is really good, and I'd really like to try it. I bet. Yeah. I'd really like to try it. But I haven't had time really, because I've been like hitting it so hard. But whenever I'm culling, I flag the blog images red, which I really love that feature, that while I'm culling, I can just pick out my blog images. And then I'll pull the blog images. And by Tuesday, I've got the blog usually posted. I have one I have to post today, actually. And what they don't know is that their entire session is already edited. And so I'll post the blog sneak peek, and then a couple hours later, I'll be like, hey, guess what? Surprise!
That's so awesome.
Here's everything. Yeah, that's really cool. And that's very efficient too. Then, you know, as you're going through the culling process, you're already picking out what your favorites are. I love that. That's gotta be a huge time saver.
It is. And, you know, I wish every session was that quick. But like Saturday's session, I didn't have any more that I was working on. I was caught up. But typically for me, you know, a week or two is about average for me to deliver a session. About 3 weeks for me to deliver a wedding. Now, if I sat down and edited an entire wedding in one day, it would take about 4 hours is what I usually log on a wedding. But I don't usually have 4 hours for a day that I can sit down and edit.
I got 9 minutes.
How much can I get done?
I can get at least 7 images done in 9 minutes.
Sometimes I'll even sit there cooking dinner. You know, I'm bouncing a baby here, stirring a pot, and editing an image over here. And
I want pictures of this, Cassie. Somebody needs to do a day in the life photo session of Cassie Jones, and I want it during a day when you're editing images,
stirring
a pot, holding the baby. Like this, it needs to happen. I know some photographers in Arkansas. We can make this happen.
Get somebody there.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. One of the last things that we wanted to ask you about, and you touched on this at the beginning of the show, but how important is communication for you in sort of keeping everything moving? And this has got to be communication with Randy, your husband. Is it right? No, Rusty.
Rusty.
I know it started with an R. I was thinking of Jamie Delane earlier today, and her husband's name is Randy, but Rusty. Communication with Rusty, with your clients. That's right.
Yeah. Well, communication definitely on the family front is the most important. Usually whenever I book a session, you know, I'm usually trying to work out childcare early. I do my best to anyway. And then communication with Rusty on everything is key. We text all day long.
Rusty and I also text all day long.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Mostly, you know, does this tie go with this shirt? Do these socks make me look fat? Stuff like that.
Offering fashion advice.
It's mostly
excellent.
Fashion.
Excellent. Yeah, but we have a board now. Right whenever, you know, Rusty's getting all of his stuff in the mornings, he can look up at the board and see what else going on. Like today, he knows that I'm here right now, and he knows not to text me and let my phone go off. Yeah. And so this morning, you know, he could look up and see that I was babysitting for my sister this morning, and that I was here, you know, right now. And he knows that after this, I'm going to go home and clean for a bit, and then go to Bunko later.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And then, so our daily schedules are obviously super important for each of us to know, especially with, you know, like tonight I'll have to drop Will off with him, you know, we'll somehow meet and do a kid trade, and, you know, they'll go home and I'll come home later, or whenever I have a session, you know, a lot of times he's great about keeping the kids, and our family helps out, especially because Haley's younger, and, you know, we live on a farm, so there's lots of farm work to be done. And so families often, you know, filling in the gaps where it's, you know, the two of us are not able to have the kids. So we're very, very fortunate to have a family that's so willing to help out.
So, and then how does communication work with the family? Because we have this where Carrie's parents live like 6 miles or 7 miles down the road. And I know that I'm terrible at it. I'm always like, Hey, I was supposed to ask you if you could watch the kids. Last week I was supposed to ask you if you could watch the kids.
You around today?
In 2.5 hours. We have a shoot. So how does that work? How does the communication side work with your family, with like non-Rusty family?
Non-Rusty.
Yeah.
I really try to do everything super early. Usually right after booking a session or setting a date with someone, I'm trying to find a sitter for the kids, someone to take care of them. And so I typically, I know for all of my weddings this year, I already know who's watching them.
That's awesome.
Even out into October. And so if something happens, we've got some backup people that we can call. And at that point it is last minute, but we really, really do our best. It doesn't always work out, but we do our best to not put them on the spot. Sometimes it just has to happen for unforeseen circumstances.
For sure.
I had a bride and groom who they were separated because he was in Iraq for a tour or Afghanistan for a tour. And, I offered to take pictures of him for his homecoming. And it was kind of one of those things. Oh, he's coming in Friday night. Well, now it's Saturday night at like 10 o'clock. And so it's kind of like, trying to work with everybody. But they've been amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well,
and then also, your communication with your clients is a huge part of it. My clients know that my kids are number one, and I do my best to get pictures done quickly. But I usually tell them it's about 2 weeks, for sessions, because I never know what I'm going to be dealing with in the week. Sometimes I have sick babies and I can't edit for 2 days. And that way, though, I pretty much stay on top of it. And it's the same thing as with the house. If I have to not edit for 2 days or not work on anything, usually everything's in as much of an order as can be, and that I can hop right back on there and get it done, and I'm not too far behind. But I add in buffer time for those instances when it can't be done.
Yeah. Right. You can't just tell your clients like, oh yeah, I can edit this whole wedding in 4 hours. And then they'll be thinking like, oh, well, 4 hours after my wedding.
Before you get on the plane.
Yeah, right? Oh, that's great. I'll have them all tomorrow. It's like, well, no. Like,
well, and things come up, things happen. I got really sick last week, and I had a bride who emailed me midweek and said, hey, I was just curious, I know you told us, but I'm just wondering when our images. And because we've been in constant communication, she was awesome when I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I've been a little bit sick. And so, it's not going to be, she knew it was like another 2 weeks. And I said, but it'll probably be, like another week or so. And it was great to I had set that expectation at the beginning, and still I'll be able to, get it to her even earlier than planned. But because we communicated, nobody is left wondering like, where's my stuff?
Yeah. She said it'd take 4 hours, and this is 3 days.
I've been married for 24. So
slacker.
I know, totally. Well, I think people have this expectation, right?
Oh,
it's
for sure.
digital, and I can see it on the camera already. And for me, one of the best sort of, time savers or also communication things with my clients is I do a same-day slideshow. And so when I leave the wedding, I've already uploaded to Pass about 50 images from their day. So they've got those as they leave for their honeymoon. And so then I can let them know, while they're on their honeymoon, hey, I'm working on your pictures, and, they'll be ready, approximately this date. But getting that out there is great. And it gives me a little breathing time before I've got to go edit the rest or get it to an editor.
We always tell people we won't even see the images we took for 10 days. Good luck.
The joy of film.
Yeah,
that's awesome. How do you communicate with your clients, Cassie? Is email typically how you're interacting with them?
I text with mine a lot. The great thing about this business is that most of the time my brides become really super good friends. And so we are on like a text at any hour type basis. Now they don't overrun me or anything like that, but I have brides that are sending me text messages of flowers. Do you think this will look okay? We just have a great relationship. It is nowhere near like a problem at all. I love it that my brides text me pictures of them in their wedding dress in their bedroom at 10 o'clock at night. Look what I've got on. Those are some of my favorites. But we text a lot. Even just, checking in, or, can I help you with anything? Or, wedding drama sometimes. Like, can you believe what my mother did?
She's just trying to make everything better, but she's not.
Exactly. How do I handle this? It's really great to have that kind of relationship with my clients. And that also comes in with limiting weddings. Something I have figured out is that when you limit your weddings, you really have a lot more quality time to spend with your clients. And it's not such a overwhelming feeling when you've got, 15 brides that you're really in close contact with a lot over, 50. I can't imagine ever servicing that many girls that as well as I do right now.
Yeah,
because it really does take a lot of time. Sometimes I have people, they'll call me at 9 o'clock at night. Hey, I can't get this image to download. Can you walk me through that one more time? And it would be really easy sometimes to get frustrated. But I think, in the big scheme of things, it's just 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It just takes 5 minutes to take care of somebody. And that speaks so much more volumes to your clients than even your work is,
absolutely.
The willingness to spend time with them and be a friend.
Yeah, I love that, and I think that it's such a different mentality. Some people have they shoot 30 or 40 weddings or whatnot, and I know we limit ourselves to 15 as well, and it's allowing us to be really intentional with the relationships we have, because like you said, they become really good friends.
Yeah.
Like the wedding day is never the last day we see our brides and grooms. There's dinners. They become friends. So I love that. So I think that is the perfect one to end on.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. Cassie, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah,
thank you.
This was absolutely wonderful. We loved having you on. And thank you for sharing all your awesome tips about being a professional photographer and an awesome mom.
Well, I'm honored you asked. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. And we get to hug you in person in October at Showiteer United. You're going to be out here visiting us in Scottsdale.
Cannot wait.
We're so excited.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know what United is, go to showitunited.com, find out more information. But it's this amazing, fantastical, wonderful, mythical type of
magical
that happens just once a year, where some of the kindest, sweetest people like Cassie Jones get together and just encourage each other and do business together and learn and grow and hug and share and take photos. And
it's going to be awesome.
Did I say hugging happens?
Yes, there's a lot of hugging at United.
So,
yeah.
I warned Rusty the other night.
Yes.
It's a lot of hugging.
Yes.
Don't be alarmed.
His name is Field, and he's a hugger. It's just the way it is.
We'll get you a shirt.
We should, right? Well, guys, thank you very much for joining us and for joining Cassie today. Look forward to seeing you guys next week when we're talking about the Google mobile apocalypse, and how to avoid that and keep your SEO up and your page up there or your site up there on the front pages of the SEO world.
That's what we'll be doing. Have a great week.
Bye, guys. We'll see you next week.